Heading into week 3, and I feel like a lot of questions were answered week 2 in terms of how people are going to be used on their team. So there's a lot to talk about for this week. Before we get into it, I shoot this before the Monday night game, so keep that in mind. If there's a player on here that blew up on Monday night, they won't be on the list because I shoot it before, and I base this on 0.5 PPR, and I rank them how I would pick them up if they were all available in my league. So keep that in mind as we're going through the video. We start with the pickup of the week, the guy that kind of gets the most attention. It's going to be a lot of hype around the pickup. Not necessarily the guy I would pick up if all these guys are available. But this week, it's Giovanni Bernard, and this is brought to you by FanDuel. If you haven't gotten into our FanDuel Beat the Experts game yet, click the link in the description. Go ahead and join. If you've never deposited money or played FanDuel, it's a lot of fun. You get $20 credit with your first deposit. Just use the link in the description to sign up. And congrats to our winners. The Smack Attack won week 1, and Schmitz ZK won last week. We were close. They pulled it out though. You win the cash and you win a free entry into the next week's Sunday Million. They give out a couple of those entries every week. So get in our game if you haven't. But Gio Bernard, he's going to be a hot pickup. Joe Mixon's going to be out for a couple weeks. The Bengals offense has looked really solid. That team in general has looked really solid. I think losing Mixon is going to hurt them, but Gio will get 15 plus touches for the next couple weeks. He's only owned in about 30% of leagues right now, so if you're looking for a short-term solution, especially in PPR leagues, Gio is the hot pickup this week. Let's talk about some other running backs. Matt Breida for San Francisco. It was like, okay, is it Morris or is it Breida after McKinnon went down? And after what Breida did last week in week 2, it definitely looks like he's the one to own. Morris is still going to get factored in, but he just looks like he's lost a step. He's just not really producing. Breida, pick him up. Phillip Lindsay, it wasn't a fluke week 1. The kid's for real. I'm excited about this guy. He is definitely a lot of fun. He was the pickup of the week last week, and Denver trusts him. He's been out on the field a lot. Still available in about 30% of leagues. Pick him up. I think he might. It looks like he's the guy to own in Denver. It's kind of crazy. Kind of came out of nowhere. And then Aaron Jones, I want to talk about. Owning 65% of leagues. He's eligible to come back week 3. I don't think it'll be a situation where he's instantly thrown in and being called the starter. And just hopefully this doesn't turn into what is happening in the Colts in New England, where there's like 3 guys getting into the mix and it's a huge mess. But I think Aaron Jones is a better runner. Jamal Williams has only averaged 3.4 yards per carry with his touches so far this year. And I just think if Aaron Jones gets between 12 and 15 touches in the goal lines, he's going to be right there in the RB3 discussion. So I think Aaron Jones, pick him up. Some more running backs. I want to talk about Corey Clement with Philly. Jay Ajayi is very injury prone. He's a solid running back, but I just think it's a matter of time. And if you're just looking for a high upside bench stash, or if you have Ajayi and it's a deeper league and you feel like handcuffing, Corey Clement I think will be very solid if given the chance to start for them. So be sure to check him out if he's available. Like I said, if you're just looking for a high upside bench guy. Then I do want to talk about Chris Ivory with Buffalo. McCoy got hurt. They're saying he's going to try to play through the rib injury. So, this is just kind of a see what happens type of thing. But I think Ivory will be okay. Maybe a flex option if he gets a chance to start. I mean, that Buffalo offense has looked pretty terrible. But I do think you need to put Ivory on your radar because of that rib injury. And then Malcolm Brown I wanted to talk about really quick with the Rams. It looked like Kelly was probably the handcuff coming out of the preseason for Gurley, but it's looking like it's Brown. So he's only on a 5% of leagues. So again, just a handcuff if you own Gurley. I mean, Gurley's been getting a lot of work. He might break down at some point. You might want to just handcuff him with Brown. So it is a good week if you need a receiver because they are plentiful this week. There's a ton of receivers that are worth picking up. Galladay with Detroit, he has really progressed this year. And even though he's technically probably the 3rd option out there, he's had 2 really good games in a row, and it's very possible, he could, jump one of those other 2 guys, maybe jump Marvin Jones in terms of being more fantasy relevant. He's looked very, very solid. Keelan Cole, I love this guy. And if you haven't seen his catch that he had, little Odell Beckham-esque, amazing receiver. I love this guy. You know, if he was in a better passing situation, I think he'd be owning a lot more leagues. But he's only owning 50% of leagues. Keelan Cole, big fan of him. John Brown, I want to talk about. He's getting his career is getting revived in Baltimore right now, which is kind of a weird thing to say because it's not really where receivers go to get their careers revived. But he has been very solid, and he has done it in the past. It's not like this is a fluke. It's just injuries with him. But he's healthy right now. He's playing well. He's only owning 30% of leagues. And I also want to talk about Enunwa for the Jets. He's clearly Darnold's favorite guy to throw to as of right now. And I think he's going to be consistent on that offense. You know, I wanted to see one more game before I got too excited about him since that Detroit game week 1, which is very fluky. But Enunwa looks to be the real deal after missing last season with an injury. Deshaun Jackson, I mean, what can we say about the Tampa Bay offense? It's unreal. It came out of nowhere. He's playing great. I think you should be owning more leagues. Only owning 50% of leagues. You got to feel at some point, he's going to have some bad games. I think he will be kind of a roller coaster ride. But you can't ignore what he's done so far. Callaway with Cleveland, he's the big beneficiary from Josh Gordon getting traded or whatever they're going to do with him. Nothing's happened as of right now. But Callaway had a good week too, only owning 10% of leagues. I want to talk about James Washington for Pittsburgh. Like I said, lots of wide receivers to think about this week. Only owning 5% of leagues. He found the end zone week 2. I think he will be obviously inconsistent as long as everyone's healthy out there. But if you have an injury, to Juju or to Antonio Brown, I really think Washington could step in and have some value. And I want to talk about Albert Wilson for Miami, only on 5% of leagues. I talked about him last week. He found the end zone week 2. And I just think that Miami offense, that Miami team in general is looking pretty decent. And Wilson, I think they see as a talented guy that they can just get the ball in his hands, try to get him in space and see what he can do. So I do think Wilson in deeper leagues is worth a look. Quarterback, Andy Dalton. That Bengals offense has looked really solid. I talked about it a little bit before. I think them losing Mixon will obviously hurt him for the short term, but he won't be out that long. Dalton and that receiving core have been on the same page. They've looked great. A.J. Green looked great. Ryan Fitzpatrick, only on 25% of leagues. I think Fitzmagic is for real. I mean, obviously we've seen stretches like this from Fitzpatrick before, and then he's come crashing back down to earth. But it just feels a little different this time. And I think Winston, I don't think he has a job when he comes back. I think Fitzpatrick has played way too good, way too well. And Tampa Bay, they're winning. So I don't think they're going to make a swap. I think Fitzpatrick is for real. I think, and obviously any type of 2 quarterback leagues or deeper leagues in general, I think he's worth owning. Tight end, if you're still trying to replace Olsen or Walker. O.J. Howard, huge week for him, long touchdown, and that's what he can do. He can give you big play potential every week. And I want to talk about Jesse James as well, only on 10% of leagues. He looked great. I mean, there was about 90 points scored in that game, so obviously all the offensive players for the most part had decent games, so don't expect huge numbers from Jesse James every week. But he's a guy that we saw flashes as a rookie. He's going to have good games. He will have more big games, but he's going to be inconsistent. But I do think Jesse James should be owned in more than 10% of leagues. And finally, our defenses. I like the New York Jets at Cleveland this week, and I also like Miami at home going up against Oakland. The big reason Miami's 2-0 is their defense has been solid. They've had 2 good weeks in a row, and I think at home against Oakland, I like their chances. And then the Jets' D's look pretty solid as well, so I don't mind them going up against Cleveland. So go ahead, leave some comments. Don't forget, Josh picks questions straight from this video to answer in his flex show later in the week. So be sure to mention in the comment if it's PPR league, standard league. He'll be picking those for later in the week. Brent and I will be back later in the week with more videos. Get into our FanDuel game, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. And good luck on the wire this week.